Russell Wilson gets dealt to the Denver Broncos, which drastically changes the direction of the AFC and NFC. Let's talk for a second about this trade. What's up, Eagles Nation? What's going on in NFL world? How you doing, Division Rivals? This is Steven Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. Sports channel where the cerebral NFL fan comes for about 10 minutes of daily content. What's up, guys? I'm sorry. As you can tell from my voice, I was sick, guys, so it put me down the last couple of days. But this is pretty big news, so I'm going to muster up the strength to get through this video because it's got to get covered, right? So Russell Wilson gets dealt to the Denver Broncos, and let's talk for a second because the first thing that's going to stand out, I know everyone's going to say this, which is if we're only judging just what the trade value was, clearly the Philadelphia Eagles could have matched and beat this offer. Now, I will say this, in terms of what that means, and it's not the only thing to consider, right? It's not about can you match or beat the trade value. There's a couple things at heart here that have to be discussed, right? So, parameters of the trade, just in case you guys are wondering, like, well, slow down, Steve, what was the trade? Well, the Denver Broncos received Russell Wilson in a fourth-round pick. In exchange for that, the Denver Broncos sent the Seattle Seahawks 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a fifth-round pick, Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and tight end Noah Fant. So defensive lineman, a tight end, of course, the quarterback, and then they received in return, I believe, a 2 first, 2 second, and a fifth. Could the Eagles have beat that? Sure. Yeah, Philly could have beat that, guys. We have 3 first-round picks alone in this year's draft. We have a better player than Shelby Harris. We have several players that are better than Shelby Harris. There's no doubt about that. We could have offered if we wanted to give up that much, which leads to the natural conversation here, which is, did the Eagles want to give up that much? I'm going to take a wild guess that they definitely probably approached this. It seems like they wanted Russell Wilson, and they probably looked into the trade evaluation and said, it's just too much. It's too much for one player. I mean, this is more than just giving away draft picks. This is draft picks and several draft picks on top of players. You have to have a roster in place if you're going to give this much away in order to be able to win football games. And I think that's what it came down to is, like, if you have to give away this much draft capital plus players on top of it, do you have the infrastructure around the quarterback to then be a Super Bowl competitor? I'm going to take a wild guess, guys. This is not my own personal opinion. I'm not saying this is your opinion. I'm just taking a wild guess that the front office analyzes to say, no, that structure is not there. This would be a ridiculous move for us to make. At this point, we're just not in a position, although we have the draft picks to do that. Now, the second side to this. The second side to this is probably a little bit more complex and a lot of unknown here, right? Which is Russell Wilson had a no-trade clause. Is that Russell Wilson might not have wanted to come to Philadelphia. That is very, very true. I mean, he had a no-trade clause, guys. So, I mean, I can't say whether or not Russell Wilson wanted to come to Philadelphia. And that's a tough thing to say. I mean, he might have preferred Denver. He's not a West Coast guy. I heard the reports about that. Like, the guy grew up in Richmond. He went to NC State University long before he went to Wisconsin, guys. He spent 3 years at NC State. He's kind of a folklore kind of figure around Raleigh, North Carolina, guys. He's an East Coast guy. So I never bought those. I thought that was all nonsense. Now, I know you got to factor in his wife. Of course, his wife plays a role in those type of decisions. Of course, Denver's an attractive place to live. Hey, shout out to him. With that said, I'm not too sure that it's the same allure as like Los Angeles and stuff. You get what I'm saying, guys. Like, I mean, LA's got a lot to allure you with. You know what I mean? Like, Denver's a nice city. Obviously that's factored into their decision, but I don't know what to make of that side of things, guys. I mean, that one's kind of hard to measure and judge, but all I can say is that Russell Wilson had a no-trade clause, so it's within the realm of possibility that he just didn't want to play for the Eagles. Maybe he didn't like the city of Philadelphia. I don't know, guys. I mean, that's really difficult to say. I don't know the young man personally. We definitely went to school around the same time. I think you guys, I've mentioned this before, I've had the misfortune of being at NC State prior to my military service during the time of Phillip Rivers. I left, went into the military. When I came back out, I went through the college transfer program. And when I arrived back on campus, it was the Russell Wilson and Mike Glennon era of NC State football. So, I've had the luxury as a student of seeing Phillip Rivers play, Russell Wilson play, and Mike Glennon play. So, it's an interesting side note there. I don't think he wanted to come here, guys. I think that might have been the contributing factor. But I don't know that to be factual. It's just an assumption I'm making, if I'm going to be quite honest, guys. It's an assumption. I'm going to assume he probably didn't want to play here. But leave me your thoughts down below. What do you guys think about this, man? I think that right now, I made a video about a week ago saying that unless Russell Wilson gets dealt from Seattle, I don't see DK Metcalf being on the trading block. Well, Russell Wilson just got dealt. So, despite what I said about a week or so ago about DK Metcalf, I think you got to reconsider it now, don't you? Because DK might want out of there. Seattle is clearly rebuilding. They might want more and more assets to rebuild. Now, you can say, well, Gate, I mean, my God, they got 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and a fifth, plus, Noah Fant and some other guys here. Drew Lock. Perhaps they're just going to roll it out there with Drew Lock and with DK Metcalf and the guys they got out there and Noah Fant now and see what they got. I mean, that's possible, guys, but I definitely think that the possibilities this week of getting a DK Metcalf are drastically different from last week. Last week, I really thought, like, there's no way with an aging coach in Pete Carroll, with a quarterback that's kind of in his prime, and now's the time to win with him. I just didn't see moving a guy like DK who's coming up on a contract year. But I think that changes now, guys. I definitely think that maybe we need to reanalyze that situation because with Russ moving out, I do think that there's a different story to think about here, guys. I definitely think that, what seemed like last week could be drastically different this week, and we know that the league calendar year is about to come upon us. So by next week, we should start hearing the rumors of who might get traded, who's going to be signed. We know a lot of guys right now are going through the process of being re-signed by their organizations and their clubs, right? They're getting those franchise tags and things like that. So, I wouldn't necessarily rule out the whole DK Metcalf stuff now, guys. I mean, I think that the landscape has shifted and changed. And with that shifting and changing the landscape, I think we have to kind of shift and change our own viewpoints here. So, I mean, shout out to you guys who thought that maybe you saw that this was going to happen, and that's why you were projecting that DK Metcalf was going to leave Seattle. Up until this moment, I wasn't exactly sold that Seattle was trading Russell Wilson. I knew it was within the realm of possibility, but I didn't think it was 100%. You know what I mean? Like, definitely changes things, guys. In my opinion, things have definitely changed now in terms of the landscape of things. I guess the question is, with Russell Wilson off the board, with, a crazy legal situation going on around Deshaun Watson, it seems like the Eagles are probably going to roll out there with what we got, man, with Jalen Hurts. So, hey, man, I mean, I'm not saying, look, guys, no one's saying that this guy is Josh Allen. That's not what we're saying. We're saying you go back to Josh Allen, you go back to all these young quarterbacks. Man, they put pieces around them, guys. They put pieces around them. It's an opportunity to put pieces around a young football player. You want to improve a guy's accuracy? Go get him a guy that doesn't need the ball to be that accurate. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that's a proper approach here, guys. Go get him a guy that can erase mistakes. Now, I know DK Metcalf is not the greatest route runner, guys. It's kind of a dirty little secret about him. He's not a good route runner at all. But he is an eraser. He can erase mistakes. He's a big dude. He's an athletic dude. He can definitely get vertical on you, and he's got the frame to erase mistakes for you. So, we'll see what happens there, guys. Leave your comments down below, man. I appreciate y'all. See y'all in the next video.